Selamat Sejahtera, peace be upon you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Asia Water 2020 Strategic Policy Initiative for a Sustainable, Progressive and Equitable Water Sector. I am Nathan Leong and I'm your MC for today. Before we start our session, there are a few rules that we have to adhere. All microphone and video of attendees have been muted. If you have any question, please wait for the Q&A session or do list them down at the Q&A box. If there's any internet disruption during the session, kindly be patient and try to sign in again. In this session, we have our honorary guest, Yang Berbahagia, Datuk Sri IR Dr. Zaini Ujang, the Secretary General from Ministry of Environment and Water Malaysia, CASA. We also have Mr. Lukman Sharif, Commissioner of National Water Services Commission. In our midst as well, we have IR Dr. Salma Zakaria, Chair of ASM Water Committee of Academy of Science Malaysia. We have Dato' IR Abdul Kadir Muhammad Din, President of Malaysian Water Association, or known as MWA. Lastly, we have Dato' Teo Yen Hua, the advisor to ASEAN Water Series and also the moderator for this session. Without further ado, let's welcome our moderator, Dato' Teo, advisor to the ASEAN Water Series. Dato' Teo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, MC. Thank you, Nathan. And good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, we are proud today to bring to you a very important session on strategic policy initiatives for a sustainable, progressive, and equitable water sector. We are honored to have Datuk Sri Engineer Dr. Zaini Ujang, the Secretary General of the Ministry, to give us his keynote address. Now, the format that I would like to propose is we will let Datuk Sri to deliver his keynote address, and after that we will open to the panelists for further discussion, and also I hope that the audience can then put up their questions, which I can then put forward to Datuk Sri. Without further ado, can I now invite Datuk Sri to deliver his keynote address?
Thank you, Datuk Teo. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to all of you. I'm honored to be able to be here to talk about something which is very special to everyone. And I will focus my presentation to look at water, wastewater, and health in the context of water sustainability as far as the topics is concerned. Let me start with a narrative. We have a situation whereby we have COVID-19 at the moment, and we can have two attitudes that we can put forward. One, positive attitude or negative attitude. Both you can have, and it is within ourselves. If we take negative attitudes, we are waiting for effective vaccine to arrive. So we said, okay, what can I do? I just want to be alive, and then hope effective vaccine can arrive soon, and I'll be able to continue my life as usual. Or we can have reduced casualty by say, for example, putting up face masks, and then you have new way to do things and whatnot. Or we completely have new norms. So this setting today is a new norm.
Yeah.
Normally, I still remember when I started joining Asia Water many years ago. I forgot how many years ago. It's a big day for water professionals in Malaysia and in this region, because we will be able to meet colleagues, we will be able to deliver our presentations, probably we can seal some deals in between. But if we are looking at more positive way, and we try to control our exposure, so we can have what we call new order. And in this case, I'm going to talk assuming COVID-19 is water sector. And if you become positive about it, and you try to everything under control, we can think bigger. We can talk about climate action, we can talk about positive politicking, we can talk about donut economy, we can talk about water security. So this is the narrative I'm going to talk about. I'm going to be very positive, and everything will be under control. Okay, so this is something that assumption that I have in mind. I'm not talking from the angle of negative perspective and beyond control. I'm talking about under control, and we are very positive about it.
Okay.
So that's my narrative today. So let's talk about these numbers. I'm so sorry, those who are not from Malaysia. This is almost similar to countries in this part of the world. We are generally endowed by good water resources. By 2040, say for example, unfortunately, due to climate change, we are expected to have more demand than supply that we require. And on top of that, we have population increase. Malaysia is expected to be close to 40 million by 2040. So it's going to be double, or I'm sorry, 10 million more within 20 years. And then we have issues related to our water infrastructures. Our dams are aging. Our water treatment plant are aging. Now, I'm not talking about in the future, another 20 years. Whatever we have in Kuala Lumpur, partly were, built, say, for example, more than 50 years ago. If you are thinking about Klang Gate, it is about 100 years ago. Yeah, so this is need to be looked at. We want to ensure that quality, quantity, and continuity is there. And we have to address the most important issue related to financing in water sector in Malaysia, which is non-revenue water. So this is the water that we treat, we supply, and we wasted the water. Yeah, and then we cannot supply the water as needed. And then we have also some pollution issues need to be tackled. I think we are going towards that very, very severely now. And on top of governance, I think the biggest issue now is a financial model. We cannot rely so much on government to pay. Government has rules in water resources, dams, barrage. We have also now off-river storage. We have also weirs that we put in across the river. But more than that is to be from users. The water consumers must also participating in financing the financial model. And therefore, we have to be more efficient. The catchment that we have is need to be addressed. There are generally, not only Malaysia, most developing countries, we have land use change very rapidly. So degradation of water quality and quantity has to be looked at very seriously. I'm very fortunate because my colleagues, Dr. Salma is also actively involved in public participation. We are spending at least 3-4 hours a week on river rehabilitation with friends of rivers here and there. So this is a model that we would like to have. And lastly, tariff structures must be understood proper. I think we have to be open about it. Talk about it that our water rates in Malaysia are among the cheapest in the world. Yeah, so that's something that we have to address. And this is the sectoral issues, not only in water supply, but also in sewerage, in water resources, insufficient water resources, not only for drinking purposes, but also for agriculture. Say, for example, if you are in places like Kedah, in Kelantan, sometimes you cannot do your farming because you don't have enough water. Pollution at the water sources, this is also important, and low reserve margin that I keep on telling people that we have to address this issue. The fact that we have reserve margin as parameter in our water management framework is to ensure that effective reserve margin. So probably I have to use other words to enhance the meaning of reserve margin. Effective reserve margin means that when everything is ready, and then we start calling them effective reserve margin. Otherwise, you have positive reserve margin, but you don't have water because the piping is not ready, the storage is not ready, so that is not appropriate. So this is something close to many of us. This is monsoon season, flooding is everywhere. There are 4 ways to do it. I just want to reiterate this. I know that many people aware about this. There are 4 approaches in Malaysia that we deal with flood mitigation. One is source to sea approach, we call it. This is natural flood management approach. This is very traditional. I think when I started studying hydrology many years ago, last century, this was what we were told in school. So you have to make sure that your trees are not cut, you preserve your forests and whatnot. That's number one. Number two is impact-based flood forecasting. So, and this is related to planning of land use, as well as planning based on weather forecasting. So this is very important as well. And we have, this is marvelous, I think, flood water harvesting. We have smart tunnel that many people in the world try to replicate. We have to shout about our achievement. This is something very major, I think, that not many people are proud to look at and to be associated with. If people ask me what are the future flood mitigation that we can do, I would say that flood water harvesting is something that we have to continue doing. Office of Water Prediction is also important. This is to ensure that states also having a better idea on what is going to be happening if they keep on opening up their lands for, I would say, agriculture or township. Okay, the key issue here, can we couple flood mitigation with water augmentation? So that is key. And we have, say, for example, off-river storage that we have. Yeah, that's something important. We have this year, next year's budget, we are going to have 4 new off-river storage projects. 2 in Malacca, 1 in Klang Valley, and the other one is some other places.
Okay.
So I will talk about it later when the budget was approved. Okay, so in terms of systemic improvement, we need some kind of innovation. And I think we need more creativity to solve it. And that creativity must be sustainable. I would say that if we try to be too creative, but not sustainable, you are a bit academics. And Datuk Teo, you have to believe me that I was an academic. Okay?
Yeah.
Not very good academic, but if you talk too much about research, sometimes you're not able to understand what's happening on the ground, you become very academic. Then, or you can be a big practical. So I think we have to do both. More practical solution, as well as try to be slightly academic. Yeah, otherwise we don't have masters and PhD students in our universities. But in between, you have what we call novelty. I'm sorry, novelty. So this is what smart tunnel is all about. This is what I think MASMA is fantastic. When I talk to my colleagues everywhere, the solution is already in MASMA. Yeah, but the question is MASMA is not mandated. MASMA is not compulsory for you to follow. So what we are trying to do now to simplify MASMA and to make it mandatory. So in the future, what we are trying to say here, this is what this ministry is trying to do. We are very fortunate because Department of Environment, Department of Irrigation and Drainage are from the same ministry. So we can do that. So kelulusan or approval of development projects must be compliant with MASMA. Yeah, so indirectly we have that in Malay we call it punca kuasa. Yeah, so we want to make that. We don't have to have a special law for us to implement MASMA, but we can use coding in MASMA as requirement in approval of projects at various levels. So I would say that MASMA version 2. We use MASMA, simplify, make it more understandable. Probably at the moment, MASMA is too big in volumes. If I'm not mistaken, this big. Yeah.
Started quite this, but they keep reviewing it.
Yeah, it became this big in my library. So I think we have to to make simplified MASMA, and then we make it understood to everyone, because MASMA should be written for policymakers, not for civil engineers. MASMA for civil engineers are already there. That helps a lot. Singapore is doing MASMA. Therefore, the whole catchment in Singapore are well kept, and the water resources as well. So I put MASMA version 2. And we would like to have river trails. I think river trails is good for us to be closer to water resources. At least we have to be able to understand where your water resources coming from. Yeah, whoever you are. So, and then keep track. Go for a run or go for cycling, and then you see your water resources. At least you realize how clean your water resources will be. And then ORS version 2, this is something that I'm going to talk about it later. The critical success factor for innovation in water sustainability in many places in the world, especially in Malaysia for this context, it must be sustainable, workable, reliable financial model. So in the case of MASMA, the system is already there. The technical requirement is already there. How can we make it workable? How can we implement that? And what about financial model available? So this is something that we try to make it reliable, workable. Yeah? And then effective governance, systemic efficiency, public participation, and political will. So this is motherhood statement. I would say that everyone would like to know. So what? Okay. So what? So before we go, so what? This is my very favorite slides. Whenever I show this, not many people can understand. And this is what I use for the past 3 years or 4 years to explain to people where are we in water sector and why energy sector are thriving. I was Secretary General in charge of both water and energy when we were in KETA, Ministry of Energy, Green Technology and Water. So I can make this comparison. So it's not easy to make this comparison. You must be able to know both sector. So what I did, I compare between business model between water and energy sector. So what I can say, water sector is heavily subsidized basic utilities, whereas energy is full cost recovery. Not even a single cent from government paid on energy infrastructure. You can check budget, annual budget. Tariff setting mechanism is political will, whereas in energy is incentive-based regulation. So sometimes government are happy to say that we have to reduce our electricity tariff because the pricing of coal is going down, pricing of natural gas is going down. So this is something that important for us to do that. And regulatory framework is a federal state, and whereas energy is fully federal. Human resources, when they started in 1990, that I calculated from the documents I had, they were almost the same in terms of numbers, which is about 15,000, both sides, energy and water. But moving forward, you can see it's a lot of people employed in the energy sector. And technology proven cost effective is for water. You have to try many places except smart tunnel. It's only in Malaysia. Japanese are coming here to learn from us how to make smart tunnel. And smart tunnel is so special because government is not paying anything. Because it's paid by toll users. And in energy sector, it is a cutting edge. If you have new technology related to energy, the possible users for that, the first one will be Malaysian. So we have a lot of technology that I can share with you later if you would like to know why cutting edge technology are coming here first. Capex funding is PAB and subsidy, whereas for energy is financial market. And industry size is 5 times bigger for energy. And in terms of greenhouse emission, we are 3%, whereas energy is more. This is understandable. So if we want to improve water sector, we need this kind of disruptive technology and innovation and thinking and financial model. It cannot be the same financial model. It must be financial model that can go across and disruptive. This is what we are thinking at the ministry at the moment, and my colleagues are doing that. We are trying to put forward we call it white paper, but cannot be as white as what normally people understood how to do it. Yeah, so this is very important. So okay, I like to have this simple illustration to show water resources and water in the form of waste. If we are able to create awareness through education, through religion and whatnot, public participation and whatnot, we keep our resources intact. Yeah, say for example, why rivers are polluted because of awareness, because of public participation is lacking, or something like that. Yeah. So waste is only generated and prominent when we are very much rhetoric in nature. So we don't want to be rhetoric. If you find some nasty thing, the best thing is to engage authority or you do it yourself, yeah, rather than you blaming others. And we have legal framework enforcement, and we keep on improving them. Recently, we established unit for environmental crimes. So this is big because we know that environmental pollution is now related to crimes. It's no longer just simply the act of ignorance or the act of accidents. So this is very important. I just focus on river sustainability. So you have environmental pollution, you have environmental sustainability in between. So we have to play that very well. The best is if we go beyond legalistic argument, because to get someone to enforce the law, sometimes you have a lot of barriers. Say, for example, last few days we had people complaining about 500 barrels of mixed liquor that is disposed in liquor. So the company was bankrupt. Yeah, that having all the contracts and whatnot. So we have to look after legal framework to allow us to clean it, and to clean it require at least what, 1 million or 2 million. So government is not going to do that job that frequent. Okay, therefore recently we put forward environmental sustainability roadmap for Malaysia. It's very simple. It's only one page, because I hate too many pages. Because sometimes you have to write too much, and then it's difficult for us to understand. So I just highlight a few things. The ministry is leading the effort towards sustainable Malaysia. In essence, 26 initiatives are built upon 4 trusts: empowered governance. So it's not governance, empowered governance, green growth, strategic collaboration, and inclusivity, covering 4 elements. One is atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, and biosphere. So there are 4 elements of environment. But as far as our ministry is concerned, hydrosphere and atmosphere are almost within this ministry. So we have to collaborate with other ministries, agencies, states. And the keywords here is planetary health, which all of us depend on. So when we talk about that 4 components, we are talking about planetary health. So the buzzword for this ministry is planetary health. Yeah, so we able to solve that. So and there are the 4 things. One is empowered governance, strategic collaboration, green growth, and social inclusivity. So okay, this is related to the. I'm sorry, it's a bit too small, but this is component of water. So a lot of them are related to water. Yeah, so I can tell you briefly, we would like most of our rivers to be in clean. 25% of our rivers will be clean by 2030, category of clean 2030. NRW is to be reduced,
Mm.
water consumption is to be 160
Mm.
by then. So there's a lot of things we can do. But what I'm saying here, there's also water related. What I'm saying here, we are focusing on few parameters that we want to really go deep into. Yeah, so I give you an example. This is planetary health.
Mm.
The focus in the world now is more towards what we call as uh, beyond control, or what we call here beyond zone of uncertainty, high risk. So there are two major high risks. One is nutrient removal or nutrient in our environment, largely in water. The other one is biosphere integrity. So the issue of COVID is partly biosphere integrity, where the coronavirus entered human space. They left the wildlife space into human space. So therefore, human cannot take or cope with coronavirus ecosystem. So that's how we understood it. And the rest are considered not as critical. They are below boundary, below the level of high risk. So we focus that first, which is very important for us. So, and this is what we are trying to do. We are going to do planetary health for Malaysia, and then going to state, going to. We are not talking a single entity. We would like to see the water quality. So it does not mean anything because you neglect the rest. So water quality will not be improved if you are not able to improve the whole planetary health component. Then we target the planetary. I would say the water quality that we have reported in rivers, in estuary and whatnot, are a symptom. So we have to improve the real cause, diagnose the real cause that make the whole thing into that illness situation. So this is the impact. I think Dr. Salma is very familiar with this. I'm not going to talk about it. But what is important, we are now about 1% temperature increase globally. So what does it mean? Some island nation will be underwater during high tide. And a lot of money now we are spending in this ministry to protect our coastal zone. So when you started doing reclamation, and you can see that immediately after 2 years or 3 years, coastal will be eroded, and then we have to spend probably 1 billion, 2 billions just because of your 1 billion investment to build some structures there. Yeah. So this is something very worrying. I didn't realize that's so bad until I became first few weeks I became Secretary General in this ministry. I'm on coastal erosion. Yeah, this is systemic coastal erosion. So, okay, therefore, now the language of water and sanitation should be upgraded, should be in different platform. We are talking about planetary health. We are talking about SDG, yeah, on water and sanitation using World Trade Model with waste, wastewater, and recycling. Say, for example, in the future, what is the carbon emission for every COD that you remove? That question. So I keep on telling my colleagues, especially in sewerage department and AWK, so we must prepare. In the future, people are talking about that question rather than what is BOD removed using this technology. Yeah, so something like that need to be. So, okay, this is what I mentioned about ORS version 2. This is the situation in the country, not only in Malaysia, but many parts of the world. Our rainwater is clean. And if we, I mean, we have Nahrim, Dr. Salma was heading Nahrim. Now we are drinking Nahrim water here. This is Nahrim water. Yeah, so, okay. And this Nahrim water is from rainwater. Yeah, so this is, this is Nahrim. Yeah. So we are very proud to say that instead of getting mineral water, we have rainwater. And this rainwater is I think, is very sweet, I think. Then it enters not only river, but also ex-mining pools that we have. And our ex-mining pool are cleaner than our river, water in rivers. And water in rivers, we have soil erosion that makes the water colored. STP discharges, grey water, trade effluents, and whatnot. Therefore, we can see that our water supply is separate from the flow of water, despite it is the same entity, which is water. Yeah. So planetary health perspective, we have to segregate between the sick people and the healthy people. It's like our water system. We have two lines to the estuary. So the functions of rivers is just to as a water conduit and treated wastewater dilution. This is what we do and what we design for. So moving forward, what we are trying to do, we have to have a lot of reservoirs. So this is what government recently approved in budget 2021. We are going to have 4 reservoirs, big reservoirs that can hold water for 3 months at least, without using water from the river. So whenever it rains, we put the water in the reservoir. Yeah. So previously we call it ORS, of river storage. In the future, we want to name it because this is going to be our strategy. We call it TAPS, Takungan Air Pinggiran Sungai. Yeah. So MASMA is critical. MASMA, they makes our stormwater clean. MASMA is to be reactivated newly. What's MASMA? Manual Saliran Mesra Alam. Is it Malay?
Yeah, Malay.
Storm
Saliran Mesra Alam.
Stormwater management, green stormwater. Yeah, so this is very important. So we want to make MASMA central because 90% of the water is from stormwater, from this model, and then only about 10% from the grey water, trade effluents and whatnot. So therefore, we want to make sure that, say for example, in housing development, in not only housing development, sometimes we have perkebunan, farming activities, estates. So they have to comply with MASMA. Approval is subject to their compliance with MASMA. So we can use EIA framework for that at the moment. So EIA is to be coupled with MASMA. What is not able to be taken by MASMA will be another code developed by MGTC Malaysia Green Tech Corporation. Say for example, for Pelombongan mining operation. So the code will be made available by MGTC. So we refer to that code, the technical code, for them to comply. Yeah, so this is very important. Recycling is big thing now. I thought we call it reclamation. We want to make 1,500 MLD reclamation by 2030. That is to be put back to the water supply system for non-potable use. But at the moment, there are companies now going big on reclamation already. So it means that the technology is available and whatnot. So then the function of river is water recreation. Therefore, we need trail for that. We need people to look after the trails because they are spending time. I'm going to retire.
Not so soon, right?
Not so soon, but not many years to go.
Yeah.
So my ambition is to spend 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon along the river trails. So yeah, so that I'm going to make it ready by then. And then probably we can have water transportation. This is something that we have to, if we have a proper weir, proper barrage, we can keep the water at a certain level. Yeah, we can do that. And we can have also raw water supply next to where we live. And for information, most of us are drinking water from downstream anyway. Yeah. So the key issues are, Cik Lokman, this is very important for us. We only capture 80% of sewage under our public sewer at the moment, maximum. Yeah. We have about 20 to 50% septic tanks. They are off grids. The question is whether this is discharged properly. If it is not discharged properly, the septic tank is full, whatever is discharged goes straight to your storm drain.
Yep.
And your storm drain should be dry when it is not raining. Yeah, the storm drain is longkang sepatutnya kering ketika tidak hujan. Sebab longkang in English is storm drain. Yeah, so if you want to see disconnectivity, you can see that longkang is full and very dirty at any point of time. So what is not here is non-treated industrial wastewater. It's not allowed to go to public sewer under IWK.
Okay.
Partly treated industrial wastewater. So our system are very porous. The rest are going straight to the river. Yeah, so that's what we are thinking. If we have big enough public sewer, we can allow partly treated industrial wastewater to enter public sewer. So you can reduce the risk of our porous water system or sewerage system to be directly discharged to the river. So our river is very porous. Yeah, we have about 80,000 industrial premises in the country. Out of 80,000, 20 to 25% are water-based. Water-based means that you are generating more than 60 cubic meter per day. If you are generating 50 cubic meter per day, it's not considered water-based. It means that you don't have to have your own industrial effluent treatment on site. What we do with that? So that's the question. So it's a lot of them with less than 60 cubic meter per day discharges. They just dilute and then they discharge to the drain. So that's our concern. So we want to close that loop. Yes, so we want to allow that, especially treated, partially treated industrial wastewater from food industry, from some biodegradable kind of effluent to be discharged public sewer. Most of our big wastewater treatment plant that we built, Tokadi was with IWK in Pantai, in Langan, in few places. In Jelutong, it is only about 30 to 40% occupied now or utilized. So we have margin of 50%. It's not yet utilized. So if we can do that, we can solve this, make the system less porous in terms of pollution. So we have urban runoff and we have stormwater on top of that. So if we do that, urban runoff and stormwater comply with MASMA, so we don't have issues with water pollution. So this is simplified version. I'm so sorry, I'm very visual person. I'm badly trained as an engineer, so you can see that. Residence, toilet, bathroom, kitchen, laundry going straight to the public sewer, commercial as well. But we have also storm drain. This is two major systems available, pipes across our road, our house that we have. Urban discharges, road surfaces, treated and semi-treated industrial wastewater is discharged straight to the storm drain. So that is the question now. I put that in a special box for us to address that issue. At the moment, the right-hand side is under the jurisdiction of sewerage services. We have operator IWK in Semenanjung. So on the left-hand side, it is on local authority. So this is a bit worrying for me because they don't have enough staff that we have in IWK. IWK we have about 3,000 staff. Yeah, they can be trained proper, whatnot. This is separate system that we have in the country. Whatever rain, storm water goes straight to the river through storm drain. Yeah, and we have sewage from cooking activities, kitchen, toilets, bathroom going straight to wastewater treatment plant. But what happened normally, you have what we call as disconnect. So sometimes you have this happening. Yeah. In terms of pollution load, this is what I studied, and many of my colleagues around the globe are doing the same. So we put forward this paper, I think in 2004, it was published. BOD from black water black water means urine plus feces. It's only about 32%. But from your kitchen, it's 68%. COD is about 36% only. But from your grey water is 64%. But nitrogen and phosphorus are mainly from black water. Grey water is about 25%. So what I'm saying, if you are not able to address grey water issue because the system is using septic tank, you are subject to 68% of BOD coming from grey water. So this is, I think, quite worrying, and we have to address. So a big initiative now in this ministry are trying to identify what grey water is. So in Malay, grey water is kumbahan bukan najis. We make it very clear. Kumbahan is everything. Kumbahan bukan najis is grey water, because we want to show that grey water is also kumbahan. It's supposed to be kumbahan or sewage. But we can break down sewage into black water and grey water. So that's worrying. So this is the system. I spent a lot of time putting this slides.
I know.
Because I know that Dr. Salma will be very interested to know this. Rainwater going straight, and you can see that if you tap the green water, harvest the green water, make rainwater useful. If you have a proper filtration system, you can sell rainwater. Yeah, that is cleaner, I think, compared to many other sources. And then we go to residential. If we have proper sewage system, grey water and black water going straight to a sewage treatment plant, okay? And then your river will be clean. And this is with septic tank. Septic tank should be discharged, and then we have to appoint our contractors, IWK normally, to dislodge our septic tank. So that, if it is not dislodged, it became black water into your longkang, into your storm drain. Because it's full, there is no space, goes straight. So instead of it's grey water, is black water. So that's an issue. And this is something that we have to understand. If assuming this is industrial premises, so we have a lot of water. So the first one is black water, because employees are using toilets, they're using some washing facilities, some kitchen, whatever. Then we have industrial effluent. Industrial effluent need to be treated. And after it is treated, the big portion will be discharged to storm drain. And the sludge will be considered as scheduled waste. And that require a different approach. So why I put this forward? Because when we talk about pollution, it means that we are not able to understand where this line is going to be directed, who are going to be responsible, and how we can manage the whole thing. As far as IWK or civil services is concerned, it's only black water and grey water at the moment. Industrial effluent is under the jurisdiction of the company themselves. They have to do it, and they have to comply. Yeah, so you just imagine we have 25,000 of them in the country. So it's very porous. That's what I'm saying. Therefore, countries in the world, they try to make a special industrial zone. Industrial zone means the effluent is to be centralized, not the sewage, but the effluent. The industrial effluent is centralized. So there are two portions of the wastewater complexes. One is industrial discharges, and the other one is black water and grey water from the industrial premises. Yeah, going separate pipes. So this is to be understood. So at my level, I am struggling also to explain to my colleagues among professionals, because probably they are not able to understand. Probably they have been too long in civil services. They are not able to understand the other component, industrial effluent. So this is same thing happening to animal farming premises and whatnot. So you have to do the same thing. Yeah. So I just want to end by putting this in different objectives. At the moment, we have sewerage objective high quality receiving water. We have STP. Moving forward, I think we can couple commercial and industrial with domestic. If, say, for example, it is not metal based, the industrial waste is biodegradable. You can have STP together. So this is happening in many places. I know in Singapore it's doing the same. The Japanese experience, some places they do the same. When I studied in England, this is what available in England then. Yeah. If we want to be more ambitious, we put it water reclamation plant. So this is what we are trying to do in few places. We have in place already put forward a very serious proposition to EPU to have 3 places, 1 in Johor, 2 in Selangor. Yeah, the upstream of Semenyih, the downstream of Semenyih River, and then the downstream of Selangor River. And then, if, say, for example, you are having an old town, say for example, Raup, Bentong, this is where our water sources coming to Langatu. Yeah. So it is not seaward township. So we want to have constructed wetland at the end. Yeah. So this is going to happen. The first one going to be built in Langkawi. Yeah. So this is under construction. I think we are seriously considering this the final design already. So this is purely industrial and commercial premises where we have WRP. Yeah. So I hope I have another slide to show. Yeah. Final slide. Yeah. So okay, if we able to do that, we are going to migrate from end of pipe approach to circular economy. So when we are not talking about, because earlier slide I mentioned about donut economy, circular economy. So we want to put that in place in that form. At least in this context, we can extract 2 things. One is water. The other one is energy from biosolid that we have. We want to couple them with solid waste. So this is something. This is interagency. I'm so sorry I have to go back here. This is interagency initiative. I have to talk to my colleagues from KPKT to entice them that this is workable. This is easier. So we have solid waste there, slush and solid waste. Yeah, because we have slush already, and most wastewater treatment facilities, the big one in Langat, in Pantai, they have 4 biodigester. Yeah, and they hardly use one. So other players are struggling to use one or to have one. So why not we co-dispose with that? So this is my so whatever we have discussed today is already at certain stage already already discussed, already agreed at certain level, and hopefully it will be implemented next year or the year after.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And definitely, I think Dato Sri has put in place a lot of initiatives. And but I would like to go back to the issues of cost recovery. Dato Sri, I think we have so many programs, which I think is very good to if we can achieve all this. But I think the biggest challenge, Dato Sri, is still how do you finance all these things? Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, these 4 expert panelists was with me in 2004 when I was with the ministry then to start this water sector reform. And Cik Lokman was one who, he's a team of the legal experts drafted the law with inputs from the ministry, from the policymakers, from the regulatory agencies. And Dr. Sama was then with the DID, if I'm not mistaken, and Datuk Kadir was with the industry. So, but you see, after 16 years, the law passed in 2006, Water Services Industry Act, and forced 1st January 2008. And today, I think by end of this month, we are completing 13 years of a new regime. But Dato Sri, I think you have just highlighted that there are still a lot of things to do. Now, I would like to first get that Cik Lokman to share with us that some of the issues raised, some of the program that needs to be implemented, do we require changes to the law? Because the law, when we started to formulate the law to advise the government how to address these issues facing the industry, the challenges then was also some of it quite different. Cik Lokman.
Thank you, Dato' Teo. I think the law in general, I think is still applicable.
Okay.
But probably certain areas that we need to look into. I think in particular, probably on the reclaimed water.
Okay. Does the water reclaimed water falls under water supply, or is it falls under the sewage services?
I think that it is where I think there is a definitional issue here.
Okay.
I think when it was drafted last time, I think it was water supplied or treated, abstracted from the water costs.
Water costs.
Yeah. I think when we look at reclaimed water, it's actually treated from effluents.
From the STPs, yeah.
From STPs,
Yeah.
for example. Therefore, I think probably we need to look into some definitional changes and concept to cater towards the process of reclaimed water to make it to ensure that it can be done, right? And then to put it under the regulatory regime, right? So I think that it is a gray area here. I think going forward, probably we need to look into amending some of the provision to capture this reclaimed water.
Okay. And from the industry, Dato' Kadi, I know Dato' Kadi, has been highlighting the need for the government. I think Dato' Sri has also mentioned in the case of energy, actually we are on full cost recovery. I was then also, having that opportunity to also look at the industry. But the water sector is highly subsidized. And we know that according to World Bank, 15% of the utilities, water utilities in the developing country, only 15% having operating surplus. The rest are actually can't even meet the OPEX. Do not talk about CapEx. But World Bank has said that you first drive the efficiency. You look at how to bring down your NRW. They have also set a target of 25%. But you say after that, you need a revenue growth. Only then you can bring all these utilities to be able to cover not only the OPEX, but also the CapEx. Now, Dato' Kadi, would you wanted to with the current tariff setting, what do you see are the challenges?
The tariff setting mechanism is already due. Some states has not been revised for more than 30 years.
37 years.
37
I think there is one state 37 years.
And IWK itself is 25 years, roughly. And we've been talking about this for decades or ages. And I think it's about time that we should walk the talk and implement what we have planned, rather than just talk about it. Because with due respect, every time when the political climate change, this thing was put on hold. So it's about time that we put the political agenda aside, and water is for the people, it's for the rights, because the water restructuring model were solely dependent on the tariff. Otherwise, it will fail. Pengurusan aset air will fail. They cannot collect, they cannot give. As such, the water infrastructure cannot be built. So apart from that, I will say what we suffered most by the water operator is imbalance. Whenever there is an increase in the energy, for example, they got a hit because the one of the highest costs in operation of
30%.
system is energy cost.
Energy cost.
IWK is about 30%. I think the range is about 20 to 30. I still remember
Water
we
supply
paid,
is 40%.
yeah, we paid about
Mm.
300 million, you know,
Yep.
a year out of 1 billion operation cost.
Mm.
So that's one area to look at, how we look at the pass-through cost. Again, we supported the water restructuring by looking at the single-digit profit margin by the water operator, but there must be some sacrifices from other industries who supply, say, chemical. We need those what we call things to be controlled, like in the construction industry. We control the price of cement, sand, and it is about time that we also control that. Is another contributor. But the biggest challenges, I would say, apart from too dependent on government subsidy, there's a sweetener for source can be on grant. The other portion, we are too dependent on one source. If Kelantan is too dependent on groundwater, the other states, I mean, balance of it, generally, they are too dependent on the surface water. We have a lot of taps. If I count easily about 6-7 taps, the dams, that's inclusive of the taps, the new term for it, and you got this retention pond and the rest, and you got the surface water, you got the groundwater, you got the rainwater, you got the air water generator, and of course the last is seawater, which I think the last resort, because the cost to operate this is still not viable. So my take on this is, while waiting for the tariff setting mechanism to be realized, we need to look at other areas that can bring down the cost of operation, and we need all sectors to be involved, because if you look at Malaysia per se, the water is still cheap, and let alone sewerage is almost free. Again, talk about free, 2 ringgit example for the low cost. We have about 800,000 what they call low cost. They still don't pay, and it's not a question of affordability. The transparency must be there, because subsidy element of sewerage is there. Example, if they operate about 35 ringgit a month per household, if you pay 2 ringgit, that means the government is subsidizing the low cost sector about 33 or maybe 33 ringgit a month, and that is not being transparent enough to be shown in their bill. So the transparency is not there, and more importantly, before I switch off, it's about governance. Like what Dato' Sri was saying, I supported that. We are lack of governance in terms of enforcement. We are lack of enforcement. I feel that if you don't have enough manpower, you outsource for a certain period, so that to put things in order, because it's about culture, a culture that need to be built, so that they become a culture who love the river and protect the river for the future generation. So these are the areas, and public engagement is a must.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. So let me, in the interest of time, maybe I quickly go to quite a number of questions. Dear panelists, we have one for Dr. Salma. Dr. Salma, this is the question. We have done enough study on water resources, either NAWAPS, you have MASMA. What is lacking is the willingness to implement both at federal and the state level. Why is it so?
That's a $1 million question.
$1 million. I thought it would be $1 billion.
Yeah, because I don't think we really understand how the system, natural system works. You know, we always talk about rivers as though it's a channel, divorced from the land, it's hinterland. We tend to forget that it's from the hinterland that all the pollution comes in. You just look at Sungai Selangor, what we have been getting all this while, and you will see that you have a lot of industries, housing beside it. So I think I was very interested with Datuk Sri punya presentation, but I think one thing missing is that land use planning. We have, you know, the federal Jabatan Plan Malaysia. Now it's known as Plan Malaysia. They come up with national physical plan, structural plan, local plan. Who follows them? It is at federal. But when it goes to the state, I mean, I've been involved in some of the studies, and you see a river basin, for example, currently 45%, and everybody is going to push it to 85% developed. And then current problem like pollution, flood is not incorporated within that plan. So that worries me. Yeah, and then there's also again, I'm interested also with what Datuk Sri was talking about, MASMA, because I started it when I was a director of river engineering. The first thing we did was we presented that to the council of local authorities, and they were supposed to implement, and that was 2002 or something like that.
Okay.
And then we also have the private sector coming back to us and telling us, why are you asking us to implement when the government is the biggest developer? If we could manage the government the developments, like Putrajaya, can we make sure that it is on a circular economy kind of thing, or any other institutional development? We in the government have to start that first, and we have not. And I think the other thing I'd like to highlight is the fact that I'm quite confident of our technical expertise. They're very good. But I think, I was just talking to Cik Lukman just now, we have not reached the policy decision makers. And we are still trying to reach the communities. And together with Datuk Sri, we are having this, Friends of Rivers and things like that. There's a long way to go. But does the decision makers, the policy, the political decision makers, are they aware of what is best for the country? Can we reach them? That's the one that I hope we can look at.
Then I would like to refer this to Datuk Sri himself. Datuk Sri, I think there is a question for you. You say there's been suggestion from the water fraternity that Malaysia should actually form a dedicated and single ministry for water. So I don't know whether the question is coming from who. I know that right now the environment and water, but the water resources is still with the state. So
we have to respect the federal constitution in the first place. So state has some responsibility in maintaining their rules, especially on water resources. Therefore, all water resources related infrastructure projects grants from federal government. Yeah, so they receive grants instead of they have to take loans from federal government. Yeah. So that's number one. Number two, I think with the setting at the moment, I think it's a great opportunity for us to do something. In the past, water services and water resources at federal level are separated. And the regulator, which is DOE, is on the other side. So now we are in the same basket. I need more time because of COVID and whatnot. But we have put forward a lot of papers to government, and government has already agreed. Yeah. So the question,
I would like to follow up with another question that is related to this.
Yeah.
Because now DOE is with the same ministry. So there is a question: is the government planning to remove sludge in the scheduled waste list?
Yeah.
So
we call it. There will be amendment to WASIA. The major thing is the penalty, as you know. We are going to make it very, very tough this time. The second one is to include water reclamation as one section. So water reclamation in Malay is air tebus guna. And then we are also trying to, as you mentioned just now, your question is
schedule waste.
We call it residue. Water residue. So SPAN has to. So the power we delist from Environmental Quality Act. And then it is called the perwakilan kuasa. So
delegation of authority.
Delegation of authority is to SPAN. So SPAN must come up with special regulations on residue, water residue.
We have also another question, Mr. Lokman. You were involved in the drafting of the Act 654 and 655. I think 654 is the Water Services Industry Act. 655 is the Suruhanjaya Perkhidmatan Air Negara Act. That is the the Commission's Act. If you were given the opportunity to do it again, what could you do differently?
I think the main challenges then, I think until now, is actually to collaborate between the water supply and the water resource.
Yeah.
I think this has caused a number of issues in relation to friction, which has caused pollution in our in recent events.
Okay.
But if we can work better to manage this, I think it would help towards reducing the pollution in the system. But it is not easy, I think. When we did in 2004, 2006, right? I think that we understand fully as Dr. Sri was saying, the jurisdiction of the states. I think this is a sensitive matter.
Yep.
And including of land, there are limited jurisdiction of the states.
Okay.
But probably we need to work to find some better solutions so that we can work together in reducing the pollution, which also touch on the land use aspect, as Dr. was saying just now. So I don't know where we can draw that line, but if I were to look into this again, I think we have spent a bit more time in addressing some of these issues.
Okay, thank you. A few more questions. There's another question. I think this one probably Dr. Sri can answer. Is Malaysia involved in any G2G program for creating energy from water sources? Infrastructure Indonesia has some big programs for creating energy from water sources, like Korea. G2G program is extended to Indonesia, but not to Malaysia.
Yeah, because Malaysia is in different league. We are full cost recovery as far as energy is
concerned. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and energy issue in Malaysia is exemplary. I have to say that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The issue is only how to make our energy generation of energy is less in terms of greenhouse emission. That's the issue in Malaysia. It's not the issue of infrastructure. We have at the moment close to 50% reserve margin in energy sector.
Yeah. And yet it is still on full cost recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have double grid now.
Yep.
So that's what we are. I don't want to.
But don't you think that, Dr. Sri, don't you think that it is easier to have this uniform regulatory regime because energy is there's only one company?
No.
Whereas the water we have so many.
It's not one company. Energy is divided into three sectors. One is generation.
Right.
Generation, we have more than 40 companies.
Okay. The
More
IPPs.
Yes, more than 40. And TNB is also IPPs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then we have energy transmission, only one company.
Yes.
Which is
Tenaga
TNB.
Nasional. Yeah.
Yeah. TNB distribution.
Yep.
And then we have retailing.
Yep.
Retailing is to be liberalized.
To be liberalized.
Retailing, yeah, retail.
Yeah, I mean they want that selling to the consumer.
Sending the consumer, and some portion of our retail business is also liberalized, especially for industry now.
Yep.
Industry can generate their own energy, say for example.
Okay.
So what is the monopoly of TNB is only transmission.
Transmission.
And transmission is the one that's not making money.
Okay.
For TNB.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a good answer. And to MWA president, you cannot run away. JAS is adamant to release water residue from EQA 1974. What would be your advice to JAS and how it can be done? I think this is partly also answered by.
Well, I first and foremost, I would like to thank the government with the support of KSU. We recently heard about the news, and I thank the minister for making that had to happen after more than 10 years fighting over the matter, and finally we can address. It is a fair what they call solution, whereby we delisted a scheduled waste. The next step is how you regulate the disposal of such residue. It's about the water residue, because slush for RWK or sewerage is done deal. So the next step is how to transform into the circular economy, to transform this residue to become the environmental products, so that it not become a waste. You were to discharge, it's not certainly not to the rivers, but it need to be transformed. There are ways and means. We've been talking to the Dutch, the Netherlands, but it's not materialized. But we have some form of another waste. I just found out that we can also convert that to become a fertilizer, but not as its original form. You need to mix with other components to transform that to become a fertilizer. On a small scale basis, there has been an effort. So on MWA part, we're trying to upscale that, so that can become another what they call circular economy, because the transformation of water sector for the next RMK or the Malaysian plan is to transform the water sector from cost center to profit center. And that's quite in line with what been mooted by Datuk Sri Zani Ujang in his slide. So we're talking about circular economy. Yeah. So we have to look into that, and that is one of the areas to as a source of revenue for the water sector.
Okay. So I want to add to that. Yeah. Okay. The question is not delisting alone by DOE.
Yep.
So what you want to do with that? So SPAN has to come up with regulation.
Okay.
So what activities that can be done in order to use that? Say, for example, we are thinking of changing buildings, construction materials.
Yep.
So you need additives, or you need other things to add on to that. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is to be discussed. I think let's forget. I mean, move forward.
Move forward.
Don't talk about regulation anymore, because while I'm still around.
Yep. You will still be around for long.
Because the first paper that MWA submitted to the ministry was crafted by me, because I was deputy president of MWA.
Okay.
So I told my colleagues here,
now we go the full circle now.
made the paper. The first paper was my paper.
I remember. Yeah.
And then I'm in the position to approve the paper with my colleagues. Of course, so let's move forward. So moving forward means that it must be a business proposition.
Yeah.
Companies must move forward. Say, for example, a special company that we can rely on, that talk to all water operators to what to do with the water residue that they have. Okay. We don't want to use the words scheduled waste. Scheduled waste will not enable your proposition to be financed by banking financial institution, because the risk is higher.
Yep.
So we have to go away with the words scheduled waste. So therefore, we put it as water residue. So one, terminology. Second is to get it out from the listing of EQA.
Okay.
And then the third one must be business proposition.
Okay.
So we need companies, those who are in trying to do business in water sector now. What is available in the market at the moment, and you will be the pioneer if you can come up with a technology where you can reuse the water residue.
Okay.
Joint venture with water operators.
Okay.
I don't think water operators come up with proposal.
Okay.
So someone else must come up with proposal.
All right. Thank you. And in the interest of time, I think almost 1:15. There's also a question for me. I'm quite surprised. Is there to the moderator? In your 7-year tenure as SPAN CEO, what have you regretted the most? What different could you bring if you were the CEO again? My God, I don't want to be a CEO again. But what I can say is my greatest regret is actually the tariff setting mechanism. Because right from the beginning, we have the consultant who help us to plan for this reform. I remember very well that there were 4 pillars of success, or critical success factors that we have to meet. First one is that federal government must have the authority, and that we have done by, bring it to the parliament to amend the law, the federal constitution, and federal government only take the water supply. Sewerage was already in the concurrent list. Then the next one is actually driving efficiencies. So driving efficiency, we have introduced the licensing regime under SPAN. Okay, that also has been done. I think all states are on licensing regime. And the third one is actually affordable. At that time we call it cheap, but I don't think it should be cheap. It's affordable financing terms. And that also we have done. That is under PAAB. But my greatest regret is actually the tariff setting mechanism, which is the last pillar. And that pillar is supposed to be a very big pillar, Dato' Sri. Without that pillar, that three other pillars will not be able to hold like a slab of a double-story house. It will collapse. So that is my greatest regret. And I hope that, now I'm 68, going to be 69 years old. I hope that before I reach 70 years old, this matter can be resolved, Dato' Sri. And that is my greatest wish. And that is the one that keep me, being involved in this water industry, because that was my greatest regret. Thank you. And with that, I would like to thank everyone. And also please join me to thank all our distinguished panelists, from Dato' Sri, Dr. Zaini Ujang, a friend that I met in 2004. Likewise, these three of them. And we are still here. Never give up. Dato' Sri, never give up. I know it is tough, to get everyone to appreciate how we should restructure, how we should focus on social, as you say, inclusivity. That we realize that the interest of the low-income group has to be protected when we look at tariff setting. But for those who can afford, please, be with us to put in the necessary revenue that we need so that we can overcome all these challenges. Because without that, Dato' Sri, the plan will not be fruitful. And please join me to thank Dato' Sri and the rest of the panelists. Back to you, Nathan.
With stay safe.
Thank you, Dato' Sri.
Yeah.
you.